local recordings just in case.
Yep.
We are live, everybody. Welcome to another live episode of The Elephant in the Room. I am your co-host, Chris, awake while sleeping, and this is my amazing co-host, Ariel Elizabeth.
Hey, guys.
We are so excited to bring you another live edition of the show tonight, and we see that we have a couple people already signed in over there. I see Curious George, so welcome to the show. And we're going to also live stream on Twitter tonight, so hopefully you're catching us on either one of those platforms. I'm going to introduce our guest tonight. We are super excited. When we had Dan Harari on our show a couple of months ago, he did the honor of introducing us to Yvonne Smith, who is a certified hypnotherapist and has an amazing career, a 33-year career to be exact, in the field. And we are like thrilled to have her here tonight because she's going to talk all about like her journey and how she came into the field, what led her and her studies into abductions, which is like going to be amazing. We've never really delved into this topic at this level before, Ariel, so this is going to be really fun. She's an author of 2 books, and I haven't read them yet, but I'm already intrigued. I cannot wait again until I can read again after my master's is done. But one of them is called Coronado, and it's about some secrets about Coronado Island there in San Diego. And so I'm sure she'll tell us more about that. And then she's also the founder of an organization called CERO, CERO, and it stands for the Close Encounter Resource Organization. And she offers trauma recovery, and it's in its 32nd year. So like that is like so phenomenal and amazing. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please welcome our guest, Yvonne Smith.
Thank you very much for the introduction and the invitation to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Ariel, I'm going to let you kick off the questions since I did the intro, and we love to throw each other under the bus here. So
I know we do. Yeah, we love to kind of spring things on each other. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, for taking time out of your busy schedule just to chat with us and bring more awareness to this subject. This is a subject that is in desperate need of awareness. And even though I do feel like we've made some progress and some strides with lessening the stigma around the, abduction phenomenon, we still have a long way to go. And I'm sure that you see that. So I'd love to just kind of start at the beginning and tell us what drew you into this topic, into the UFO phenomenon, and more specifically, abductions.
Well, this isn't anything that I planned. It just, what happened was late 80s, my mom, who was really into the metaphysics, and she was psychic, although she, being brought up a strict Catholic, it would scare her. So she would try to, shove it aside. But she was very, very interested in the metaphysics and astrology and so forth. So back in those days, there was a conference called Whole Life Expo, and they would go travel all over the U.S. Putting on conferences. And this one was in Pasadena, California, which was very close to where I lived. And she asked if I would go with her, so I did. And Bud Hopkins was a speaker there. Now he's considered the pioneer of abduction research, and I didn't know anything about him. But my mom knew. I mean, she read about him, and we went to his lecture, and I couldn't believe what he was talking about. But people being taken aboard a craft, and he was showing some slides of the drawings that these abductees would draw on what they saw on the craft, what they experienced during the regression. And I don't know, it's just something that it interested me, where I started wanting to learn more. And, and with me, if anybody knows me, I don't get obsessed over anything. I mean, I'll get bored first before I get obsessed over anything. Well, this is the first time where I had to find out more about these abductions and about the UFO phenomenon. I'd always been interested in hypnotherapy, but never really looked into it for myself. And I started looking into colleges, and there weren't that many at the time. But luckily, there was one very close to my home in the San Fernando Valley here in California. And I took the year course and did my hours in the clinic, and then opened up my own practice. And as I met people in the UFO field, I began receiving referrals. And, I thought that, well, this will be interesting, because I really wanted to work with cancer patients. I had a very close uncle, almost like a big brother, really, who died at 42 from cancer. And I was with him. And I just thought, oh gosh, if I had only had the training then, I could have helped him cross over. But and I thought it'll be interesting to have maybe some abduction cases in my practice. And really, the opposite happened. I mean, my practice just snowballed with abduction cases, and I was still, doing a few of all the regular therapies that people come to for smoking and losing weight and things like that. Cancer patients, of course, as well. But because my practice grew, it was mostly abduction cases, I decided, well, that's what I'm supposed to specialize in. And really now, after 33 years of doing this, I really feel that I was directed to do this. I was placed on this path, and it seemed like the path cleared for me. And I never said that around 20 years ago. I never said that, but I thought, that's how I feel now, very strongly, that you have to speak your truth. And I just feel, as I mentioned, it was nothing that I planned. And so here I am, 33 years later, and doing shows like your show, many of these shows over the years. And as you mentioned, my support group, CERO, I founded CERO 32 years ago. We meet once a month in person here in Southern California, but I also began Zoom support group meetings, because during COVID, no one could get together and meet. And we have a lot of people out of California, out of state, that are members, and as well as in Europe. And so I started the Zoom meetings in 2020, and I'm still doing them now, because I thought, well, gosh, I can't just let it go. And what are our other members going to do, because they can't come to the in-person meetings? So every third Sunday I do the Zoom meetings, and every fourth Sunday we have our in-person meetings. To this day, we still do it.
That's amazing. Have you seen that your population has grown or changed over the years, or shifted, or does it tend to have like ebb and flows based on like how society is kind of talking about the topic?
In a way, I'm not sure I understand.
Like your patient population, is there like, has it grown over the years, like the volume, or
yeah, it's steadily been growing, and it seems that the past, I don't know, a few months, it has been extremely steady. At least 1 to 2 new people each week contact me, and these are people from all over the United States and in other countries. Now that I'm doing Zoom sessions, I'm able to reach out to people everywhere, because this is a worldwide phenomenon.
right?
And it happens everywhere, and they're similar. All the cases are very similar, no matter where they live. So yeah, lately I have definitely seen an increase in people wanting to find out what may have happened to them.
Right. What is the type of thing that sparks that curiosity within someone? Is it a repressed memory that arises, or is it maybe some other kind of spark that sets off their curiosity?
They know. I mean, they don't have a completely blank mind. The subconscious mind job is to protect us
Right.
whenever we suffer a trauma. So it'll block off part of the trauma and leave like little bits and pieces of memory. People know that they saw a very strange craft in the sky, very low flying, no noise. They were with other people, other family members. They arrived at their destination, say they arrived home 1 or 2 hours later, which they could never explain. And it haunts these people for many years. I mean, I have people coming to me after 20, 30, 40 years of something happening, and they're not sure what happened, and they want to know finally, was I dreaming? Am I crazy? And I just, that's how it just haunts them, and they get to the point where it's starting to interfere with their everyday life or their relationship. They suffer PTSD symptoms. They're not able to sleep. Yep. They're hypervigilant. Something will spark a memory where they become fearful. So that's why people seek out my help, because they need, hopefully, to get some relief from these memories, from recurring dreams or nightmares. And so that's why my first goal as a therapist is to relieve that person from PTSD. So we get them functioning. We all have to work. We all have to pay bills. And then secondly will be the research. And in all these cases that I work with, there are many, many similarities and patterns that go hand in hand. And that's when I know that whatever these people experience was something very real.
Right. Are you able to elaborate on some of those patterns, or, just those similarities that you see in different stories?
Well, like I said, missing time, they're maybe drunk. They come across this is very common, a accident scene where they'll see first responders, around the accident scene, they'll see blinking lights, different colors maybe. And the person ahead of them goes, oh my God, something may have happened. And then they're slowing down, and then they pass that scene. They don't remember anything. They just get home or to their destination. And that's when they discover, why did I get home so late? But sometimes, many times, they don't realize it right away. That's what's really strange about this phenomenon. But then it just later, something clicks. They go, wait a minute, doesn't take me that long to get home from the airport or wherever they were, or from work. Also, what we call the bedroom visitations. People are in their home, in their bed. Sometimes they're sitting up reading or watching television. They see a blue-white light coming through their window. They begin to feel that they cannot move. Sometimes they will sense or see something in their room. Other times, no. They just know they can't move. And then there's a blackout period. They don't remember anything. Usually people will remember the beginning of an abduction, like say the missing time or the blue-white light coming in, or the end of an abduction, when they feel that they've been put back in bed, or actually slammed in bed, or dropped in bed, or like I said, with the missing time, it occurred to them that they shouldn't have been home that late, and then with the missing time is just seamless. It doesn't stop, and then it goes on. It's just, that's why people don't realize that something may have happened and they were later than they should have been.
Right.
And of course, once people get onto the ship, they'll describe the beings. Many of them will describe the grays that are taller than the shorter ones who come and do the abducting, take the person out of the normal environment. And on the ship, you'll see taller ones. Sometimes they're wearing very, very tight-fitting one-piece suits or uniforms. They will often describe a bug-like being, and those are typically the praying mantis type.
Yep.
And the praying mantis, they're very tall, and usually they're in charge. They're telling the others, directing them on what to do. And then there's many others. There's the very human-looking ones, which we feel over the years that they're a perfected hybrid because they are producing a hybrid race. There's light beings that people see. And also the reptilians, which I don't come across in every case, but they're there. They're there, and sometimes they're all working together.
That's what I was going to ask. It sounds like you're saying they're in the same place, like one's in charge of the others in the same place.
In the place, yeah, the same place.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I had never heard that before. Yeah. Very interesting. I have heard about that the small grays tend to be the ones that do the abducting. Is that correct? Yeah. And they're and they come in like groups of 4 or 3, maybe.
Usually it's really interesting. Groups of 3. Then we see there's a sighting of ships. Sometimes they're in 3s. I have people that come up with many body marks that are triangular in shape, or they'll come up with body marks that are triangle in shape, but they're, say, needle marks. So the triangle or the tri is very important to them for whatever reason. Sometimes people will see an insignia on some of the uniforms where they'll show a patch of a triangle.
Interesting.
So have you ever felt that because you are helping abductees that you yourself were in danger of becoming a target?
No. I have had experiences, and what's really interesting is usually these abduction experiences begin in very early childhood. A child will be 4 or 5 years old when they'll start saying very strange things, that something came in the room, or other very strange things. My own son, when he was about 5 years old, started saying these things, and I thought, oh my God, because I just had started working in the field. But with me, I don't remember anything in early childhood. It was when in my 30s when I started doing my work. That's when things started happening, and I think I was meant to be enlightened about this. And that's why I say I feel that I was directed to do this. I was placed on this path to help a lot of people. And back in the 90s, when I worked with Bud Hopkins, he was my mentor, really. Wow. He had told me, he said, when you do interviews, don't ever tell anybody that you have had experiences, because you'll lose objectivity and credibility. So for many, many years, 20 plus, I never said anything. But very recently, many people have been coming forward, many people from all different walks of life. And I thought several years ago that, it's time for me to just, say your truth. People are coming forward because they're tired of living a lie. They're tired of living a secret life. And they said, this happened to me. I know I'm not crazy. And, and when you get older, like me, you don't really give anymore what people say. You just, you know what? This is what I do. This is what happened. I feel that because it's happened to me, it's happened to my son, that it made me a better therapist because I can understand what that person is going through. I can understand when a parent comes to me and says, "Oh my God, my little girl or my little boy said this or this," because I was there, I was in their place. So I'm really grateful that I'm able to do that and really put myself in that person's place because I work with people, abductees, experiencers very intimately, with doing the regressions and really, getting in there and finding out what happened. So, so it's as far as I don't fear them. I don't feel that they're evil. I've never felt that they're evil. I feel that, they have their own agenda and they're carrying it out no matter what. They're carrying it out. What's going to happen with all this, with everybody that's had these experiences? What's their end game? That's the thing we don't know. We don't know.
No one knows. Yeah.
They're creating a hybrid race. People have been taken periodically up to the ship and been shown their children from, say, very tiny babies to different stages of their life. They're told that they need to bond with their children for them to thrive, and because the alien beings don't have that capability of doing that. They don't know how to bond. They don't bond with each other, like we do with our families and our children. So that's what happens. Yeah. People are shown, and it's a very, very difficult part of this because they're not able to bring their children back here. They're told they can't survive here. But now through the years, and I was saying this on my interview last night and other interviews, that people feel now that they have come across a hybrid here on Earth. You wouldn't recognize them if you were just walking by, but it's when you stop and start talking to them and engaging them, they say there's something very different about them. It's as if they could look through you. They could read your mind. There's just something very different. They talk different. And so, with all this research going on and talking to people that feel, and I've had people draw pictures, of these hybrids, and they're very, very, very thin usually, but you could still, they could still blend in down here now. And what the ultimate plan is for all these hybrids, I wish I had all those answers right now. I just don't. I just know that abductions are real. The hybrid program is real. People are being contacted constantly. When this happens to someone, however they're chosen, we still don't know exactly why they're chosen, and their family, because this runs in the family. It's intergenerational. That this is a lifelong experience. You're in it for life. So it could lay dormant for a year and maybe more, and then something down the line will happen again. Yeah. And people in their 70s, 80s will ask me, what do they want with me now? I can't have babies. I can't give them sperm. I can't. And I just come to the conclusion that I tell them, once you're in their program, they will have something for you to do.
Wow. That's so sobering to hear. Yeah. What What do you, so you don't feel that they're evil, because this is obviously a big topic,
Yeah.
whether they're malevolent or benevolent, or whether we can even know, or, what's their agenda. Obviously, those are all a lot of big questions. But do you feel, because I hear from people, and I know we even have, people that are watching that do feel that they're malevolent and they've had experiences with them, and they feel very, firm in that belief. How do you sort out what, like, the trauma that people have, the PTSD from, those feelings of whether they're good or bad per se?
Well, I think what the human side of us always wants to know, are they good? Are they bad? Are they black? Are they white? That sort of thing. I don't think I just come to the conclusion many years ago that they're not either one. I mean, I don't think they're here swoop down and save us from ourselves. I don't think they're meant. I don't think they're allowed to interfere. Unfortunately, look what's happening around the world right now. But as far as evil, it's not that they're evil. I feel it's just that they're carrying out their agenda, and if that agenda traumatizes someone, they still have to carry it on. And of course, people are traumatized at the beginning of this because they don't know what happened. We didn't grow up talking about UFOs and abduction. We didn't learn anything in school. People didn't talk about this. So it's a very much an unknown to us. Of course, now, when I started 33 years ago, we didn't have the internet. We were just starting to email. And so there was really no information out there except for the books that were being published at the time. With everything on the internet, and you've got to be real careful because not everything on the internet is true. There's information there that maybe you could, like, people can look me up. I have a Facebook page and LinkedIn only for people to be able to contact me. I don't get on social media. Number one, I don't have time, to do that. I just want people to be able to contact me. Well, in the beginning, we had to advertise, print advertising, because we didn't have any of this. Now this is wonderful because it's all, free, Facebook and all, but it's oh gosh, what was I going to say? I was checking. Like, what were we talking about? Sorry.
Well, I think you were just talking about malevolent and benevolent and the different understandings of it, and social media probably influences that, obviously.
It does, and you have to be. I caution all my new clients to be careful with the internet. But so when people are traumatized, like I said, however that trauma comes, the subconscious job is to protect us. So my job as a hypnotherapist, I set aside the conscious mind, which I'm talking to right now. Conscious mind makes up about 20% of our total mind power. So we take in just so much, when we're talking to the conscious mind. I also set aside what's called the critical area of mind between the conscious and the subconscious. I set that aside during hypnosis. That's the part of our mind that questions everything, that, oh, this isn't real. I'm making this up. It just starts like that little voice. We want to set that aside and then get into the very strong part of our mind, our subconscious, which makes up 80% of the total mind power. And we all have information registered in our subconscious, like a little computer in all of us. Many times we don't remember these memories until something happens, like with the abductees and experiencers, and they come and they ask for help. And then I get into the regression, taking them to a certain time and place, say that missing time that happened 30 years ago. Going back to there, having them be there, having them look at everything. And depending on the person, sometimes a lot of information comes forward. Many times there's blocks that the subconscious is doing to protect that person. It could also be, because I'm always asked this, it could also be something that the alien beings may do, may say, or however they want to block the person, while they're up there with them, like you won't remember and whatever they say, but it's not very effective because, I could get through those blocks. But at this point, after, 3 decades, I feel that the alien beings want people to know this is happening. They want people to be enlightened about this is happening to millions of people for a reason. So once I get done with we go through the regressions, memories come up, they can deal with it on a conscious level. I give them many, many positive suggestions that they're going to be all right, that they're going to be able to incorporate this in their lives, that, they came back, they're safe. I cannot guarantee that this is going to happen again, because it will happen again. And I can't mislead them.
Right.
And so, but with the therapy, I invite people into whether it's the Zoom support group meetings or the in-person meetings, meeting other people. It's like any support group.
Yeah.
Like-minded people. You don't feel alone. You don't have to explain yourself, because everybody, has been in the same position. Yeah. In fact, when people say, "Oh, this is going to sound crazy," everybody laughs, because they said the same thing, And I say, we're not laughing at you, because they're relating to that when they first came in. So all of that put together, that's when, the healing begins. I'm not saying they're not going to be afraid anymore.
Right.
But I think they're intellectually, they'll know, okay, this is happening, and they'll remember a little bit of it, but they know, I'm going to be okay. They're brought back. So, but it takes time. It takes time with everything, with the sessions, with the therapy, because they do relive the experience in regression. Right. But a trained hypnotherapist in this will use different techniques to have them look at it, have them report what's going on, tell me what's happening, without feeling the fear or the pain. The important thing is to verbalize what's going on, what's happening.
So, Yvonne, it sounds to me like I haven't heard of a lot of options for therapy for anyone in general, right? I mean, for experiences, obviously nowadays there's experiencer groups and things like that. But essentially, when you started, like, I feel like, were you kind of the only type of person assisting abductees and experiencers through these things? Because if they went to a normal therapist or a physician, I think they would obviously be blown off or stigmatized.
Yeah, the advantage I have as a hypnotherapist is that I'm usually the last kid on the block somebody will come see, because they've already been through traditional therapy, and none of us have grown up in that perfect home, leave it to Beaver or whatever. So they're dealing with, like, say, if they were abused as children or sexually abused or whatever it is, they were abandoned by their parents. The issues are they've been going through the traditional therapy. So they've already been through the psychological testing and so forth. But there's an area with the person that their traditional therapist cannot tap into. And then they'll say, my family, we did have a sighting. After a while, when you go through to a therapist, hopefully you gain rapport with that therapist, and you're comfortable telling the therapist afterwards that, I've had a sighting. So I began getting referrals from therapists saying, I think this is something, is in your line of work, because a traditional therapist, especially back then, 30 years ago, they didn't want to touch this at all. And so,
Right.
so then I began receiving the referrals. And so, I didn't start from square one because I'm not qualified to do that. I'm not a licensed therapist.
Right.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist. So they already have been through all of that. And then we just kind of target, okay, tell me about that sighting you had, because they're still suffering from PTSD. But at the time I started, Bud Hopkins was doing this in New York, and he was teaching a couple of other psychotherapists at the time that helped him. They did the sessions with him there. Dr. David Jacobs also, Bud brought him in from Temple University, and he started seeing people.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. John Mack and all these A-listers I worked with. I mean, I was very fortunate. With Dr. John Mack from Harvard, Bud brought him in too, and he started working with them. He established a therapist list, which was I was on. Then, of course, that I was trained by Bud as far as doing the regression for abductions. I learned the mechanics of doing hypnosis in college. Took a lot of psychology classes and so forth, but you don't learn this.
Right.
I didn't learn this. And they never encouraged doing a regression back then for anything. So I was on the West Coast doing this, and there were a couple of others, Barbara Lamb on the West Coast, a couple of other people in up north. And of course, time goes by, people get older, people get sick. Bud unfortunately passed away. John Mack passed away. David Jacobs is no longer doing this. So a few years ago, in fact, it was 2020 around COVID, that I felt urgency to start teaching therapists to do this. And the reason I did, because I was noticing when I was speaking at conferences, therapists were coming up to me and going, well, how do I do what you do? And I would tell them, I'll contact, Bud Hopkins or whatever at that time. But during COVID, during that year, I couldn't start anything. I put it together, and then we all went on lockdown, and we couldn't do anything. So I started teaching my first class in 2021, and I just finished my recent class in April.
Wow.
This past April. I have another one coming up in September, and it's for therapists already established in their practice to take this, and they need to use already hypnotherapy in their practice and be certified. I don't teach hypnosis. So I take it from, they have the person there telling them that, they've had missing time or whatever it is, and then teaching them how to do a regression for abduction. So I've had, it's amazing how many people I've had in the classes that are very interested. This one in April that I just had, I had 3 international therapists attending.
Wow.
So I thought, wow, because my goal was to get a therapist, qualified therapist in all 50 states. Because so many areas that there's nobody.
Right.
Now I think, well, I'm gonna achieve my goal even faster, because now we've got therapists in other countries
internationally.
So that's why I thought, okay, in fact, I just booked the dates today because someone had emailed me and was asking me about them. So if any therapists that are out there listening, if you're interested in doing this, go onto my website and email me, and I could put you on the list. It's so important to, because I can't do this forever. I would love to, but we all get older, and so I feel better now. Where I feel that at least there's going to be people in place that are doing this. Yeah.
Wow, it's so important. I can't. I just think it's so amazing what you're doing and the work you're doing, because I just can't imagine where people do when they don't know really where to go, who to talk to. And like you said, you're kind of the last resort, which is unfortunate, I think. I mean, it makes sense because, you know, they've gone through everything else. I have a question from the audience, which I thought was a good one. Can everyone be hypnotized? Is that yes?
Yes. Anyone can be hypnotized. You, the person, just has to want to be and allow themselves to be. I've had the toughest clients where, you know, a lot of people, they're used to being in control. You know, they own their own companies, and you know, but, you know, but they were determined that I got to know what happened. It's fear going into it, of course. I dispel a lot of the misconceptions of, I'm not going to control your mind. I'm not going to make you do something that you don't want to do. You know, all these things that people have in mind. You know, I'm not going to, like it's voodoo or something like that. I say it's very safe. You're in a very relaxed state, and we're just going to leave the present time and go back to where you want to go back. People sometimes will go back to when they're 5 years old, and then we just follow, you know, throughout their life. But yes, everybody can be hypnotized. So, and I learned that in hypnotherapy college, and it's very, very true. You just give yourself the permission, and I'm the facilitator. So I tell people, let me be your facilitator and let me do my job. Don't worry about not being able to do this or do that. Just let yourself just go, because you're in safe hands. You know, I don't use drugs or medication or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am a Christian, and I grew up very conservative Christian, and hypnosis and hypnotherapy is it's not really welcome in the Christian community, at least in the more conservative aspects, because they believe that when you are not in control of your own mind, of your own faculties, that could basically open you up to demonic possession, basically. Have you heard that from any of your clients, like coming in, like being nervous of like opening themselves up to entities, or having a Christian background and kind of having blocks because of that?
I've heard about over the years, people that are really into their church, that structured religion, will think, oh my God, you're opening up people to demons. But see, that's the misconception. You are in control still of your own mind, because you're just in a relaxed state. I'm accessing the strong part of our minds, which is the subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone has come up to where they begin to be real frightened, say they see an alien being coming towards them or something, they're on the examination table or whatever it is that make them frightened, I will ask them, do you want to continue or do you want to come out? And they have that choice. This will in no way bring in demons at all. I mean, I have a very good friend who's a minister, and he came to my a couple of times to my support group meetings. He has experience with demonic possession. He's been in exorcisms, and he says, Yvonne, you walk in the room and you could feel the hair standing up on the back of your neck. So he wanted to, he was curious to see how he felt walking into a room of abductees. And he said he didn't have any of those negative feelings. He says, these people are just suffering from a traumatic experience. And in fact, he opened up, very generously opened up, if anyone needed additional therapy from through his church, he set up a little like a monetary, savings where people can draw from there. They couldn't afford it. Nice. So he gave me, he just confirmed everything I knew, that, I wasn't bringing demons in and endangering these people's lives. So those are the misconceptions.
Right.
I have seen people heal. People have written to me over the years, thank you so much. I would have committed suicide. People have told me that. I said, oh my God, this is a tremendous responsibility. But they said, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have help. And so, it's unfortunate that some people, when they're in, like you say, they're really conservative Christians. And yeah, I've heard that over the years. And I could understand that's how they grew up. That's what the teachings were. I grew up Catholic. I'm not no longer practicing, but I'm very spiritual. I pray every single day because I believe in the power of prayer. So,
just my dog.
Oh, my dog's at my sister's house. So I knew he was going to bark at something while we're talking. So, yeah, but I don't blame him, but I just want to make sure people know that I'm not bringing in the demons. But what my friend, the minister, said, and I know this is true, what brings in spirits that you do not want to be around or you don't want attached to you is the Ouija board. I mean, that to me is very frightening. And I don't even want to, I'd rather deal with the aliens really, because I don't feel any evil from them. But with something like the Ouija board, when you can actually bring something through.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with you there. I ain't ever getting within 2 miles of a.
And he told me, my friend, the minister said, he told my sons that don't play with the Ouija board. He was so serious because he's been there when people have been possessed. I told him I couldn't even imagine being in that presence, So, but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I've heard that over the years. But I know if I felt that I haven't helped anybody for 30 some odd years, I wouldn't still be doing this, but I've seen the healing. And so I feel like, I have been helping people, and that's what I'm supposed to do. So is your dog okay, Chris? Our pets are so
Chris,
sweet.
you're muted, babe.
Yeah, I got somebody to give them some attention.
That's what they want. They want.
I know, and everybody was warned. I have a podcast. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's so cute. So yeah, this is it's really hard work. It's very tedious when you go into a regression because it's just everybody's different. You could go very, very slowly, like just chipping away, at the memories. Sometimes it's floodgates open. Sometimes a lot of information comes forward. It just depends on the person. And I never know. I never know what's going to happen. I'm always prepared,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, after the show, they can always contact me through my website. Will you be showing that on your site?
Yeah, on the description of the channel of the videos, it'll have a link to your website, and yeah, we'll put that in there.
Yeah, we can put all your information on there too. And we can transition over to talking about some of your work and your books and then your upcoming guest slot at Contact in the Desert. Yeah, tell us all about that.
Yeah, it's coming up real soon, first weekend of June. I'll be doing a lecture. It looks like Saturday morning, and that's when I cover about abduction, what happens in an abduction. I cover the family connection, how it connects generations. I show body marks, overnight body marks. I show drawings and pictures that people have taken or video. And I'm this year, because I think it's very important. People have been receiving messages from the beings. I think there's a lot happening right now. A lot of things are coming forward. I don't know if you caught any of the congressional hearings, but people are stepping up to say, yes, I'm a pilot. I saw these things. Our government has been keeping crashed craft somewhere and bodies and all. I mean, and these people, these witnesses are sworn in, so they have to tell the truth. So with that coming up, with the Navy pilots showing that Tic Tac video that happened in 2016, when that came out, all the major news agencies covered it, and I thought we never thought we'd ever see anything like this. So I feel that a lot of things are happening behind the scenes. Abductees, experiencers have been getting messages that I'm going to be covering at the Contact in the Desert as part of my lecture. In the workshop, I'm going to be talking about, symptoms and sign. Are you possibly an abductee? And I'm going to have, a presentation on that. And then I'm going to do at the end, I'm just going to relax or hypnotize the whole room, which I've done before.
Oh, really?
People are, they're wondering, how does it feel? How does it feel? Of course, I'm not going to go into a regression with 50 people.
Right.
This is relaxing them. And then in my intensive workshop on Monday, I'm going to be actually doing two live regressions during that 3-hour period. Yeah.
Really? These patients are allowing you to do that? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's fascinating.
They sign a consent form. They have to get their permission, but they're I have two, a lady and a gentleman, and they're going to be going into regression because I want people to see what actually happens.
Wow.
And so that so that's what I decided. I did that last year, and people were really just riveted in the audience. So, and I have 3 hours for the intensive, so I'm going to do that.
That is
oh my
cool.
goodness, Chris, you'll have to go to that one.
I know. I'm like, there's so many things I want to see, and I put you down, but I have to see which one I put you down for now. So.
Just look at the schedule. Look at the schedule and see. There's a lot going on, but I just feel it's important to keep talking about abductions, keep talking about the the effects of regression and how it heals people, and being around other like-minded people, because this is happening to millions of people around the world, and all these people couldn't be crazy. If they were, then we're in big trouble.
Good point.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point. And I think it's such a hard topic for people to really just start even to delve into, because it is stigmatized. It's very rarely talked about. But I know for me, I've got a friend who I've met over the last couple of years who is an abductee, and it was hard. It's hard to accept, what they're saying, but that it's true. You believe them. And you see from the external signs, like you talked about, the hypervigilance, the not being able to sleep. I mean, the trauma that you see. I mean, I'm talking probably 50 years later from their original experience that they're still living with. And you can't help but deny it, and then for me, it's also fascinating because I consider myself an experiencer with more like orbs or UAPs. But as I talked to my abductee friend and we were having a conversation, I was expressing some of the experiences I had with for actually a series of time, which I had forgotten about. And that's one of the things, you know, you forget until you're like having a conversation with somebody. And I'm like, oh, I had sleep paralysis all the time. And I would hear footsteps coming up the you know, stairs of my hallway. And I remember because my husband was gone, he was working like middle of the night shift. So he'd leave at like 1 a.m. And it would be like when I was falling back asleep. So I just thought it was that sleep paralysis, you know, feeling, but it happened on a regular basis. So now it makes me question, you know, because of my other experiences, and then later on, I've heard stories, the missing time. My dad's told me a story all my life about him driving on a road trip, and he just remembers being 2 hours later all of a sudden, and doesn't remember anything about it. And he's always told me that story, but it wasn't until recently we were having this conversation. I said, Dad, that's also the same road that you saw the UFOs on when we were in the 70s or 80s. It's the same exact road.
Was this in New Mexico? This was in New Mexico. Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, I'll be speaking at the Roswell conference in July.
Oh, will you? Yeah. Yeah. So I was born and raised in New Mexico. So yeah, so definitely have those roots and those connections to that, you know, time period.
That sounds, like my red flag went up when you were telling me about your dad. That happens all the time where people don't see, it doesn't occur to them about, they don't say, oh, it's a UFO, you know, they don't know. But it's just like, it's on their mind going, you know, why was I so late? Where they finally, you know, they have to find out. That would drive me crazy if, you know, if I keep wondering about something. So, but see how widespread this is. This is so widespread that people, you know, out there don't realize, but maybe they do realize, and a lot of it is fear, because that's, you know, people are in their little box and they go to and from work, they go to the football game, and it's like, this is so out of what we've been taught, what we know. But you know, I'm grateful that I know that there is something greater going on. And like I said, the messages are very important. And so I think I just feel that something is brewing underneath the surface right now.
One of the, I don't know if you can or not. I know you're going to be talking about it at the conference. You probably don't want to give it all away, but one of our guests was wondering if you can give a general idea of the messages. Are they?
Well, the ones that I have covered before and that still keep happening, is that abductees, experiencers, and I use the word interchangeably, that they've been shown pictures of devastation in another room on the craft, or if these visions are implanted in their head. They've been told since early childhood that we are ruining our planet, that we need to become more spiritual, raise our spirituality so that we can love each other more. I mean, this sounds so simple, that we can love each other more because we could change the course of where we're going in, you know, on our world. And I'm looking at what's happening right now around the world. You know, it's like, oh my God, things haven't improved. So there's still, abductees are still getting, in fact, I had a couple of emails today, still getting the apocalyptic type dreams that they're shown tsunamis, they're shown flooding in big cities, they're shown bombs exploding, happening like around the world. None of them have ever said, oh, the world's going to end. You know, they're giving us a warning. But I think now, in the last couple of years, I think abductees have told me that things are accelerating, that it's ratcheting up. And I call it the urgency. That's what I talk about in my book, Chosen. This is the 3rd edition of Chosen. And I thought it was real important to put the urgency in there. That's what people are feeling for years. Something is coming real soon. Something's going to happen. They don't know what. A lot of them they're supposed to do something, but they don't know what. They're not happy with their current careers anymore. They feel like they're supposed to be doing something to help the planet. All of these messages. So anyway, I hope they come and see me at Contact in the Desert. And
you're just like you're giving me goosebumps there, you know.
Email me, and any questions or anything that comes up, both of you, and anybody listening, email me, and I'd be happy to answer whatever questions.
Thank you so much.
This has been so good, and it's just been such an honor to chat with you. You are truly just a pioneer, and you are out there doing the work. There are so many people that I feel like we need to be putting our talents to uses like this that are practically helping people. And there's no bigger story than this, in my opinion. This is huge. And so I commend you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
And thank you. People are loving it.
So. For you, Ariel, with all the storms happening, and Chris, I'll see you in about a week.
I'll see you in a couple weeks. Actually, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, make sure
you guys get a selfie and then send it to me, and I can feel really sad and left out.
I'll have my book table there, Chris. So make sure you come to my book table.
I will grab it, and you guys make sure and look Yvonne's website up. It's her first and last name, right? Yvonne Smith.
Yes, Yvonne Smith, or hypnotherapist. Yvonne Smith at .com.
And we'll put it on the description later on in the description. But also, she has a couple of great books out, so look her up on Amazon. I'm sure you can find her there, and also on her website.
Yes.
If you're going to be at Contact in the Desert this coming end of the month, end of May, beginning of June, make sure you check her out, and we will see you guys all later. Thanks for stopping by. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.